Hey everybody, it's Jason and Stuart, and we're back for another episode of Mr. Moonshine. We don't have
We don't have a catchy
theme
theme song yet.
We should have a theme song. I don't know why we don't. Somebody should do that. Stuart, you should probably get on that.
It's Mr. Moonshine.
I dig it. That's
song
it.
Isn't gonna rhyme.
It
And
just
that's all I
did.
got.
You're the worst. You're the worst.
I am.
So we're gonna start out with a bit of an apology for our loyal, faithful viewers who have been around.
All
for
7 million of you.
It's been a while, and we have no excuse.
I got an excuse. I don't know about you.
There's no excuse for me. I learned that a long time ago.
His excuse was Stuart was being a dick.
That's why were you late, Jason? Well, Stuart was being a dick. That's not a good excuse, Jason. You're fired. Get out of here.
Yeah, but it stems from publishing stuff. My book's coming out in soon.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Why don't you talk to us a little bit more about that, Stuart?
I would rather not, thank you.
Oh, you dick. See,
No,
you're a dick.
no.
This is exactly it.
It's true. Publishing is a process that might sound like, well, no kidding. No, you listen. It is a process.
You shut your face and listen.
It is awful because the writing part. Sure, you get advice, you get people helping you out, reading, giving you feedback, but it's not until you actually start the publishing bit that you realize that until then you've kind of been doing it on your onesie. And man, that's sure would be nice to go back to that. As soon as you get people that you have to depend on to do their stuff, the stress level just exponentially rises.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I believe it, and I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I've been here for it, so
It's fun though.
I'm excited. Getting that book in my hand, like the actual physical copy.
Yeah, about around a week to a week and a half from recording, it'll be on Amazon. So the both of you watching,
me and also Levi.
yeah. So get the book. Oh,
Yep,
and
we'll
leave
definitely
a little starred review, 5 stars only, please. And
If you leave anything less than a 5-star review, Amazon actually doubles your price for everything. It's a little known fact, so we definitely need you to make sure that you go on and give those 5-star reviews. Not just for us, but because we need.
It's for your own benefit.
We want to help you out. Is really what it comes down to. So not only do you get a really cool book for like a really decent price, but you also keep getting to pay less for all of your stuff. So
I don't know about the decent price though.
I mean, if it's not like $50, I think it's probably decently priced.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like closing up on higher teens there.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, it's going to be a big book, 7 by 10, 600 pages or so.
Exactly right.
Little font even. It's a big-ass book.
It's a big book. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Been writing it for 10 years, so recognize.
It's been a commitment.
Thank you. Hopefully book 2 doesn't take as long.
Well, that's where the benefit comes from. It's not just book 1 that's been being worked on for 10 years, so
yeah.
The rest of the series, I'm hoping we're not going to run into a George R.R. Martin kind of situation where people
if I get people asking for the next book, that would be
right. No, that's definitely a good thing. What you don't want is people saying, Stuart, you better finish that book before you die.
Before you die, you old man.
Because that's kind of a dick thing to say.
Yeah.
Like the most dick thing to say. That's even more dickish than Stuart saying stuff. So
then that's something.
And that's something. So yeah, we'll make sure to keep you updated on when that's actually coming out. It's called Resplendent Princess from the Tales of Alcedon, and it will be out soon. So make sure you keep an eye out.
Pre-Thanksgiving, almost definitely.
Pre-Thanksgiving. Hey, that's just before Christmas. You know what makes great gifts? Big-ass books.
Big-ass books.
Who doesn't love a big-ass book? I also love books about big asses. So I don't think that's relevant. But anyways.
And also big-ass books.
Really, any kind of ass is probably good. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Halls of Agamemnon, which we've this has been like our main project for Mr. Moonshine since we've been doing these vlog casts. And I will be posting the most recent bit to the website, so make sure that you look for that after you're done watching this video.
And it's not a whole lot more. So
it's really not. It's a pretty small passage, so it's very easy to read. Stuart, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's in this passage?
Well, when we last left our hero, he was just in the midst of it was the start of a big battle between the Horde and an unidentified enemy, really.
The Fruit Eaters.
The Fruit Eaters. Those damn Fruit Eaters. And, we started the battle, and then at the beginning of this latest bit, it's a bit of a time skip to the end, the immediate aftermath of the battle, and Tim, our hero character, he sees how his squad leader Jet reacts to the death of goblins in his squad, which is atypical of what a goblin normally would do.
So a goblin normally would be like, dead guy, better go loot his body.
Move
on.
A dead goblin is something to scavenge from, and I think he says at best you serve as a lesson to other gods of what not to do.
Right. But then Jet's got his own kind of way that he deals with stuff. And we talked about that a little bit in our last one, but since it's been so long, Stuart, do you want to remind us how exactly it is that Jet deals with death?
Jet gives a crap.
It's a really good way to put it.
I would have used stronger language, but my mother's in earshot.
I see. That's why I got the earphones on. See? Right there. Not that my mom's in earshot. I'm in my apartment. There's nobody here but me. But there's a cat in the window. About it. So something that I found interesting as I was rereading this today is, so each of the goblins that we've spent some time with here have their own distinct personalities, which is always really good. But also they keep talking about typical goblin behavior, but every single one of the goblins that we have met does not fall into every piece of typical goblin behavior, and I really, really like that. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. So Jet.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to go with that as being a flaw. Like
no. I love it because there's this ideal almost of what a goblin should be, which is to be cannon fodder. Basically, they don't care. It's all about looking out for yourself until you die, and then that's it. And you literally expect death every single day. That's a good goblin. But each of our goblins has something different about them that makes them unique while still trying to maintain the facade almost of being a good goblin. So like we were talking about, Jet gives a crap when the goblins under his command die. Tem doesn't speak like a normal goblin. He speaks like what do they call them? Higher-ups. Speaks properly. I had the other character names, and now I just completely forgot them. The girl one.
Javi? Was it
Javi.
Javi, yeah.
Javi is...
It's been a while for me, too. I'm sorry.
Hey, if you wrote it and you can't remember, that makes me feel better about it, about not being able to remember. So, Javi's
probably closer to the typical goblin than anyone.
but she also seems to care, but not in the same way that Jet does. It's like almost a motherly kind of care for some of the other
she
goblins.
cares more about like Jet than she does about the other goblins.
Right, and then of course they all look out for Furt, who is not all there.
No, he's the Hodor of the goblins.
And it's really interesting. I kept noticing several times where you made mention of, like, this is what typical goblin behavior is, and here is how this goblin is not falling into that. And it happened with every single one of them, basically. I mean, not as clear cut and dried as that, but I really liked that. I think that, we've talked before about making your characters likable and unique and memorable and stuff like that. I think that really goes a long way towards all of those pieces.
Yeah, and there's also like the temptation to make it into like a Chekhov's gun, like Furt's treasure collecting is gonna come in.
Right.
Not gonna come in.
It's just a quirk. It's just a thing.
Just a thing.
Now here's what's also interesting, though, talking about the higher ups, like specifically with Karf, the hobgoblin, who is in charge of like this whole goblin troop. They've talked a couple of different times about like typical hobgoblin behavior, and Karf absolutely fits into that. Just straight up, almost has no personality because he so much fits into that. They're hard ass. What's the word I want? Commanders, basically.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Hobgoblins make life difficult for goblins. That's
right.
That's all a goblin needs to know.
So, this character that is supposedly, according to all of the dialogue and everything, is better than the goblins, is more two-dimensional than the goblins themselves are. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I really like it.
I would love to say that it was. It just happened.
It just happened.
And
that's totally fine.
Sometimes really awesome things just happen.
And that's one of my favorite things about writing, and especially collaborative writing, like what you and I tend to do, is there are so many times where you'll write something and send it to me, and I'll be like, holy shit, this was amazing. Here are these things that I loved about it. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I was kind of focusing on this other thing, but I never thought about all these points that you brought up. And the same thing happens when I send you stuff, where you'll bring up a point. The most recent one I remember being, I had sent you the piece about the vampire going to fight the Wendigo. Right. And there was that line about, have you ever faced a Wendigo, or have you ever met a Wendigo? And the vampire says, I'm about to. To me, it was a throwaway line. It was just whatever, we're going, and now here comes the important stuff. Ever. But since you mentioned that, I went back and reread it and think about it. I'm like, damn, that was a really good line. Where did that come from?
Oh my god, I was so jealous. It pissed me off. It was the best line ever.
See, that's really, man, if anybody watching, if you write, do collaborative writing, man. At the very least, just have somebody that you bounce ideas off of that occasionally will read your stuff and give you ideas, because it's invaluable. I mean, I don't want to speak too much to this because I don't know exactly how much, but I know that I have influenced Alcivan hugely, beyond just Aedan as a character that I've created. But like, just, as we've talked over the last almost 10 years about this, different changes that have been made simply from us sitting down and bullshitting about it.
Yeah, and it's nice to have someone point out plot holes.
Plot holes are a bitch, man. I'm kind of dealing with that right now with a specific part in Oakwood, and it's kind of tearing me up. Jason. What's that?
I wouldn't know about that.
About plot holes?
No, I wouldn't know about what's going on in Oakwood.
Bullshit. You know exactly what's going on in Oakwood. The only stuff I haven't sent you is what I wrote the other night. You have everything else.
Is that true?
Yeah, because you read through. I don't want to give away kind of a big twist in there, but I sent you the stuff with. You
totally did. You totally did, and I read it. Yes.
We've talked about it quite a bit.
Yes.
So
Sorry.
So you have everything except for the most recent stuff, and the only
I'm
reason
sorry.
you don't
I just got kind of locked into my regular loop of where is it, Jason?
which is fair, totally fair, because it takes me forever to write things. But you are caught up on what
I am caught up. So when are you going to send me this new bit?
as soon as I get it finished, which
Awesome.
I'm hoping is going to be tonight, actually.
Oh.
Like I said, I've kind of been dealing with this little plot hole that is unrelated to the bit that I'm at right now, but has really been weighing on my mind. So I've been having trouble focusing on what's actually happening right now.
I know them feels.
And actually, once I figured out that that's what was going on, it made me feel a lot better about that I haven't been able to crack this other part, because I didn't realize how heavily this potential plot hole was weighing on me. So, yeah, hopefully.
We need to make a word for that.
For when a plot hole is weighing on you heavily?
Weighing on you to the point where it takes away your ability to write elsewhere.
Well, it's almost a writer's block, but it's more like a writer cock punch. I think that's the way to put it.
Gotcha.
That's it now. That's the short.
That's a plot cock.
I love it. Sold. You got it. It's a plot cock.
Man, I'd like to start working on chapter 6, but I got this plot cock over in 3. It's killing me.
Man, this plot cock is just far too big for me to handle on my own, Stuart. Why don't you get over here and help me with this? I think this is going to be a two-man job, this particular plot cock.
Definitely. I think we can rub it out in a night.
We got to put our heads together on this plot cock. Oh, man. I don't even know. We've gone so far off the rails, and we're like 10 minutes in. I love it.
Jet. Yeah, Jet, Tim.
So Jet and Tim. So, Stuart.
Carf is typical. That's what we're
right. So, with Halls, I know you're kind of focused on other stuff right now, but do you have an idea of where you're going with it next? The last bit that we're left off on, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the bit that I haven't posted on the website yet, they finally got the call to go find the Halls.
Yes.
So I'm assuming the next step is going to be just jumping to them getting to the Halls, but maybe there's something else in mind?
Like, where I going, like, I'm starting to think, actually, I might just say let's go novella length for this, because a lot of the time I'm thinking, well, man, how am I going to do all that in this short amount of time? And I think it would just be easier to go ahead and give myself the freedom of going to novella length.
Sure. Well, we've talked about before, I'm very much of the opinion, a piece is going to be as long as it wants to be, and yes, unless there's a true,
but I kind of do feel the need to, so I can do my crazy planning stages,
right?
Which I'm avoiding doing for Halls, and it's kind of killing me, but
it's important. This is important stuff. You know what I was thinking actually that we should do, and I'm going to talk about this here so that we're kind of stuck to it. For a while there, you and I were sending each other challenges on things to write.
Yeah.
And I've still got them on our Facebook page. I think maybe we should. I might put some of those up on the website here, and I think we should start doing them again.
Definitely.
Because those writing challenges are so good for helping to get past those.
They were so hard.
So just some examples of stuff that we have done. I sent Stuart a challenge to write an entire story, like a short story, with more than 2 characters, but using only quotes. So at no point could he give indication of who was speaking.
God, and that was murder.
But legitimately, man, you pulled it off. Like it was clear. There were a couple of points where it was like, wait, hold on. But when you go back and reread, you can pick up like, oh, okay, this is who it is. I don't
remember what it was about.
I don't either.
I think it turned into a comedy at some point.
They usually do.
They usually, as a rule.
Actually, let me see if I can find it because I wouldn't mind talking about it a little more specifically. While I'm doing that, one of the other things that one of the ones that I had that you gave to me, or I think you gave it to me, was to write in alliteration.
No, I sent you. My challenge to you was to to write a scene that, and to only present the story through environment description, like set the mood and all that, engage all five senses, all that.
Yeah.
And like tell a story through setting, and then you decided I'm going to do alliteration too.
Oh
because
man,
that wasn't hard enough.
I had
I'm a masochist.
so much fun with that. Like that, oh god, that was so much fun. Let's see. I'm still looking to see if I can find one.
I think it'd be pretty far down on our page there.
Yeah, I went all the way to the beginning.
Ah.
Anyways, while I'm looking for that, Halls, what's your plan? What are we doing?
Well, thinking now that they've been called onto another steel dragon and have met the princess. Well, my initial plan was just to put them right on the planet where the halls are, and I was kind of stuck on thinking what sort of setting it would be. Like, what can I do to make it fantastical and, you know, not just Planet 6. You know what I mean? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Yeah.
I got you.
I was looking for a hook.
Yeah,
And
it's
everything beyond that was just kind of vague ideas. Like I was toying with like an idea of, spoilers, possibly, Jet dying,
right.
like Karf killing Jet for whatever reason, and then when it's all done, Tem carving Jet's name into Karf.
Right.
Kind of do that thing.
So if
that was an idea.
you know, let's explore that a little bit though.
Uh-huh.
I've got an idea for that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. Had we talked about reasons why Karf would have killed Jet? Like,
I think we touched on it once or twice, like things like. I can't think of anything.
I can't even remember. So I may suggest something that we've already talked about here. But my thought would be, what if Karf were going to kill Furt, and Jet jumped in the way, essentially stepped in the way to save his friend? Because again, Jet is not your typical goblin. I feel like that would be something that would be enough to set Tem off to where he says, okay, yeah, no, this is it. I have to.
Yeah, and then like
take up the mantle, as it were.
And then like the whole squad turns on him.
And then it ends up that the whole squad just straight up murders him.
Another thing goblins just don't do.
Exactly. So I think actually that would be something kind of fun to to look at. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of killing off Jet. I actually thought it was important for him to stay there for Tem's personal growth. But now that this idea has kind of tickled across my brain, I think I like it more, of Jet sacrificing himself for one of his squad, and specifically the I don't want to say least strong, but like the weakest of the squad, essentially. You know, I mean,
it'd be fair to call Tem that.
No, Furt.
Furt. Okay.
Yeah, because I would say Furt, you know, he's a good fighter, but he's also simple. So really, there's no tactical advantage to Jet sacrificing his life, on top of the fact that he's a goblin, and that's just something that goblins don't do. And really, I think that we need something important to happen in Tem's character arc but it's got to be an outside force acting on him.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, maybe Karf tries to kill Furt, or possibly kill Tem, because Jet being Jet, he'd die for either of them.
Right.
And maybe we can play with put a little antagonism between Tem and Jet. Dude, you're not even a goblin anymore. But Jet still lays himself down for Tem, and that would have a big effect on him.
I would think if it was for either of them, either Tem or Furt.
Well, I'm thinking from an outside perspective. I mean, of course Jet would die for Furt. Of course he would. I mean, but Tem, that might be a bit larger impact.
Oh shit. Okay, so here's an idea then.
Yeah.
What if the climax essentially would be Jet giving his life for Tem, and then Tem and the squad taking it out on Karf and carving Jet's name into Karf and all that kind of stuff. So what if a little bit earlier in the story they were in a situation where Tem would have had the opportunity to not necessarily sacrifice himself, but to save Furt in some way, and he doesn't, makes the choice to not, for whatever reason. And so then...
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's getting kind of deep, I know, but that would be kind of the beginning of him wondering. Like, Jet maybe would chew him out and just be like, what the hell, man, this is really messed up. And Tem's like, well, no, I'm a goblin, this is what we do. But then in the back of his mind, he's like, I don't know, what if Jet's got a point? And then Jet sacrifices himself for Tem, and that's what Tem needs to make that final leap.
Dude, that's a good one. That's a good one. But I just would also like to point out that at some point in all these brainstormings, the actual halls in the halls of Bagamnon have been very important.
You know, I've always been a fan of that.
Perfectly valid. Perfectly valid.
I really like stories where the title is about a set piece that isn't important, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like in a situation.
I honestly can't think of another instance.
I'm trying to think of something and I can't. But like, I don't know. I really like the idea. There's got to be. But I really like the idea, though, of that it's called the Halls of Bagamnon, but the halls are really little more than just a MacGuffin, and even then, not a very important MacGuffin. Mm-hmm. That's not what the story is about. We've kind of talked about, like, here is why they were looking for the halls and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff, which I think, we can still make mention of, but that's not what the story is about. The story, really, from the beginning, even though we didn't realize it, has always been about the growth of these goblins. After you wrote that first bit and gave them personality, that's where it really started to transform into being about their character arc, not about the quest. I think.
Funny how that happens.
And that's one of the things I love about writing, and again, collaborative writing too, man.
Also, that's been happening a lot to us, hasn't it?
I think that's one of the cornerstones of our little consortium here.
That's Mr. Moonshine. They have these big ideas in mind, but in the end, it's just about the dudes.
It's about the characters, and that is never a bad thing. You can have a really shitty story, but if you've got good characters, people will remember it as a good story.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's important.
Yeah,
Now, a good story is also important. I don't want to.
Yeah, I was about to say. Not to say that you can't have a good story.
Ideally, you would have a good story and good characters.
Ideally, you get both of them.
If you have a so-so story with really good characters, you can carry it. If you have a really good story with so-so characters, that I think is a little more difficult to carry.
That's tougher, yeah.
Because really, we need, as the reader, we need somebody to identify with, and that's what's probably the number one important thing, I would think, as a writer to remember. I don't know, maybe I'm off on that. For us.
Yeah. Because we should emphasize that it's different for everyone.
It is different for everyone, and I've actually spoken with other people that write that I've told them, like, man, I don't know where I'd be without doing the collaborative writing, and then they're like, oh my god, that sounds like the worst idea ever. Why would you want to have somebody criticizing you the entire time? And to me, I'm like, why would you not? Like, I don't. I write because I like to do it, and it's cathartic for me, and all that kind of thing. But I also write because I would like to make a living at it at some point. And
yeah, and it's not like we're ripping into each other.
No. I mean, sometimes yes, but
there are a few times when I deservedly had. Dude, what are you doing?
And vice versa. I have come up.
Stop.
Like, I have legitimately. I can remember several instances where I've come up with stuff, and you're just like, "What is wrong with you? This is horrible.
No,
you're not the man that I thought you were," and it tears me up inside a little bit. So, anyways,
we can handle it. You know, if you can't handle it, maybe it's not for you. But
right. And by no means will I ever say that my way is the only right way. Obviously, there are other ways that are better, because I'm not published yet. So, take that as you will. But for me,
in a week and a half, I will be able to tell you exactly what to do to be the best writer possible, and then you too can be a best-selling author of science fiction.
And that's the dream. That's what we're. If we're not going to become best-selling authors of science fiction, then what's this all been about, really? And I don't just mean the show. I mean life. I mean everything.
Everything.
Back to creation, man. Back to the first atom splitting. What's it all been about?
Well, before we decide to stop this episode, one last thing I'd like to talk about is well, Hulls is. We talked about this a little earlier before we started recording that Hulls is a satire, in essence.
Yes.
And going specifically to the princess in the story, I will stand on a soapbox somewhere and say, "Look at this. This is what not to do."
and expand on that a little bit, if you would.
I just tried to think up every silly cliche of the dark lady type in fantasy, like everything you've ever read and got a little eye roll. I channeled it all into this character. Sharp, pointy teeth, ridiculously revealing armor, stiletto heels, all of it. So, and I think what is the most goth name I can think of?
And what did you come up with, Stuart? What did you end up with?
Princess Lilithia Darkstar.
Oh,
man. I vomited a little just saying it.
So I was at my mom's house. I was actually grilling when I read that, and I laughed, like, just straight out.
Good.
It was so good to me. Like, I loved it.
Oh, yeah, the Dark Lady of Raven Gaia.
Raven Gaia. Sweet Jesus.
So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But
so yeah, that's something to keep in mind.
You can use negative tropes to your benefit.
Right. It's all about how you present it. That's what's important.
Like, to toot horns a little in Elsevier, we got a character who uses a machine gun to mow down a cyborg minotaur. It's absolutely ridiculous, but,
I remember that. That was fun.
You treat it as if it's serious.
That's what it's all about. Commitment.
Yeah. So next episode.
On the next episode
of Mr. Moonshine.
Well, hopefully, for the next episode, we'll be able to talk a little bit about the book and have it published in hand and all of that good stuff.
I should be seeing my print copy for review in 5 days, 4 days, somewhere in there.
Oh, it's so close. I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So yeah, we'll talk about that maybe a little bit, and then what more has been done with Halls.
Indeed.
And then I think we should like talk about what actually makes a good character.
That is a very good place to start. That is something that I struggle with. Even
it's tough.
I mean, I think that's pretty much everybody struggles with that, and
Yeah.
and it's not just about like, oh, is this a likable character or is this somebody that the audience can identify with?
I mean, sure, you can have an identifiable, likable character, but they still, fall flat. It happens.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I think that's definitely something for us to touch upon next time, after you are officially the published author.
Well, probably not by next time, but maybe the time after.
One of those times.
One of those times. It's coming up.
All right. Well, we've talked about a lot of different stuff here tonight, but honestly, I've had a lot of fun doing it. That's what's important to me about this. So,
always.
Make sure you check out. Make sure you check out the latest part to Halls, which I will be posting here in just a minute. And if you have any questions or comments, please let us know. Make sure you like us on Facebook at the Jason and Levi Show.com. And I think that's going to be everything for tonight. Stuart, did you want to sing us out?
I got nothing.
You got nothing? All right. We'll just call it a night then.
We'll call it a night.